Hey y'all, this is Joe. We're out here at the cabin, out here at St. Bernard Acres. It's cold. This is Sunday, December 9th. We got our little Mr. Heater going for some heat. And it's actually, even with the holes up in the ceiling and no insulation, I mean, it's warmed it up. It was 20
It was,
when we
yes,
came in
and now
here.
we're at
40.
almost 40.
Yeah. So it's going to do the job. It's been what, maybe 30 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah, so we can live with that. And I think once all the insulation's done and everything's going to hold the heat in then, and it'll go up even better. But with, you know, dealing with Misha and having to go pick her up, and we don't have the money this week to buy the insulation like we wanted to. So, you know, the plan was to come out here this weekend and hang insulation. But we couldn't swing, you know, buying $300 worth of insulation. So we came out here just to check on things, feed the birds, you know, see what's going on. And I thought, you know what, it'd be a good time to do a video, some DIY tips for all you guys that are going to, you know, be doing your own cabin builds and converting sheds over, you know, things like that. It just, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a home builder, I'm not in the trade at all. I just know some things. I built all this, and one of the things that I found you have to have are nailers. I don't know if they're called nailers or not. I don't know what they're called, but I'm calling them nailers because you got to have something to nail to. And I'm going to show you how I do it when we're framing, and I'll show you an example of what I've done. If you'll come around here, camera person. Now, I'm running my studs at 16 inches on center. I have another video that I'll put a thing up here that you can click on that shows you how and why you put things, you know, on center, be it 24 inches on center or 16 inches on center. But I run these from that wall all the way down, 16 inches on center. If you notice, there's not 16 inches in here. I brought a wall out. So, knowing I was going to do that, when I framed these walls and stood them up, I put another stud in here. That is so when I run my drywall across here, I have something to nail into. If I didn't have that extra stud in there, and I put this wall up coming out, when I come across this way with my drywall, I got something to nail to. When I come across this way, there would be nothing there. So I know my stud is 3.5 inches wide. I've got my 16 inch on center stud back behind here. So I came over 3.5 inches and put another one. That's how I can nail to my, I can nail my board up. You know, I've got to do the same thing on the ceiling up here. If you see where my little studs are in the gable end there, there's nothing, you know, when I come across the rafters, or the, come across the rafters, there's nothing to nail to above that. So I've got to take another 2x4 and run it, I'm going to lay it on top of those like that, and screw it in, and that will leave about 1 inch hanging out. Now I got something to nail to. So I got to thinking, I'll show you guys what I mean. I'll do a little demonstration here with some scrap lumber and try to lay out how I do this stuff. So what I've got here, this is my bottom plate. These are some scrap 2x4s. These are some scrap pallet wood stuff that was cut, that got from outside. but this will work to show you what I'm talking about. So let's say this is my bottom plate, and I'm nailing my studs in, and I'm doing my 16 inches on center. So we're running along, everything's just great, you know, and we're going along. Well, because I'm not going by any kind of plans or anything, we just did as we were going along, I figured out where I wanted to put my wall for the bathroom is coming out, let's say right here. So now I've got another wall coming out from this wall. Again, I'm nailing here, and I've got a stud in here, like so. Let me stay 16 inches on center here. So there's my other wall. Drywall goes across here, I nail it here. Drywall comes down through here, I nail them on this side. Drywall on this side, I nail it down. Bring my drywall over. What am I going to nail to here? Nothing. There's nothing there. So rather than wait till after all the insulation is in and all the walls are up and you know, put your drywall up, you're like, oh crap, I got nothing to nail to. Now you're trying to find scraps of 2x4, you're trying to figure out how to scab it into this thing and try to screw stuff in like this. You know, there's no point going through all of that. When you're laying it out and you see what you got to deal with, you know you're coming off of this stud with another wall. You got a 3.5 inch bottom plate. So when you're framing, just automatically come over 3.5 inches and put in another stud. And then run your bottom plate between those two. And now you've got a nailer on both sides of your studs. That's how simple that can be when you're laying it out. I had 2 walls coming out, so I had to do 2 of these. And that's how simple it is to do if you think ahead and you put these in. Same thing with your corners when you're building your walls. Again, it's my bottom plate, 16 inches on center. This is my outside wall. Here comes an outside wall. That's 16 inches on, ignore those nails. That's 16 inches on center. So now I'm going to put this wall in, like so. And again, I go along, screw my drywall into all the studs. Come along this way, screw my drywall in. Oh look, I have nothing in this corner. I can't screw my drywall in here. But I knew ahead of time what I was doing. I took another stud and put it in there. 3.5 inches, because I know my studs are 3.5 inches wide. Ignore the size of these. But I knew I was going to be needing a nailer in there. And do your corners that way. You know, some people will do it when they're laying out their walls. Let's see if I do this right. They will do this on the end. And then you have your stud here. They'll lay it out like that and shoot it together and then stand the wall up. I've always done it like that. I don't know that it makes a difference. If there's some kind of code that says you have to do it that way, I don't know. I don't know the code, so that's how I've always done it. That's how easily you put nailers in if you're thinking ahead. You know, I hope that makes sense. And another thing I've seen people doing, and I'm going to mention one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but I've seen him converting his shed over. Now, if you look at my walls, you buy pre-cut studs. You know, there's a double top plate and then there's the bottom plate. Those are 1.5 inches thick. So you've got 3 boards at 1.5 inches. You got 4.5 inches there of height. You want an 8-foot wall. So you buy studs, they're pre-cut studs, and instead of being 96 inches, half inches, or 91 and a half inches, something like that. Anyway, that means at the top of that top plate is 8 foot. That way your 8-foot sheet of drywall will go right to the top. Your floor joint, you know, your joists, rafters on the top will lay there. Mine, I went with full 8-foot studs. I didn't go with the pre-cut studs, the 92 and a half inch, 91 and a half inch studs. 91 and a half plus 4 and a half equals 96. I went with the full 96 inch studs, the full 8-footers, because I knew I was putting this loft in and I needed a 7-foot clearance here for us to walk under, 6'8", 7 foot, something like that. But I wanted the maximum amount of space up there in the loft. So by running this across at 6'8", you know, I took advantage of that. You can see the little knee wall there, of an extra 4.5 inches of headroom on those side walls. It makes my loft up higher. So that was my reason for going with the full 8-foot studs. Otherwise I'd have bought the pre-cut ones and not worried about it. Why do you have a double top plate? Well, here's one of the reasons. You've got, these are your 2 walls. These are the top plates on the wall. Now you're putting in a double top plate. So you get another 2x4. See if I can make this work. And you're going to put this one this way and shoot this in right here. See how that locks that wall in? You know, that wall is not going anywhere. If you butt them up like this and run your other top plate across here, you lose structural integrity. So take advantage of your top plate. This one will go on here, then your other top plate will run that way. And you lock everything in. Same with if you're bringing out a wall from this wall. Bring this wall out here, right? Take that top plate, run it all the way across out to here. This wall is now anchored in this wall. Your other top plates, you know, you're going to run along this way. But that's why you have you have a double top plate, is that second one will tie everything in together. That's the reasoning behind that. And if you look up here, I'll show you, you know, I've got 8-foot 2x4s. Well, you see where that one meets, there's a 4-footer and an 8-footer there. Underneath that is an 8-footer and a 4-footer over there. Because you don't want the joints together. You want to stagger all the joints. So those are things to think about when you're framing. When you're converting your shed over, unfortunately a lot of the sheds I see don't have a double top plate. So you have no way of really locking these interior walls into the outside structure. When I had the shed out here that I was converting over, it didn't have a top plate, so I had to like play with it, because I wanted all of this structure. I wanted everything locked in like it's supposed to be. And I had to figure out creative ways of doing it. But you need to. But that's the idea of the bottom plates and the double top plates. That's the idea of putting in nailers. Everywhere you know you're going to be nailing something, make sure you have something to nail to. Because like I said, once you got all the insulation up, you got the drywall in here on this side, and you're putting up drywall over here, it's like, oh crap, I got nothing to nail to. How are you going to get in there to put something in? you know, if you do it, you sit down and lay it all out, because you know you're going to lay your plans out. And there's a stud, stud, stud. There's your wall. I'm going to bring another wall out here. Right, so no, you got to put a couple in there, you know. Ideally, you'll start this wall on one of those studs. By doing it freehand like I did, it wasn't a problem. You know, when you do your outside wall at your 90, you've got a stud here. You got a stud there. You've got a stud here. Make sure you put another one here. That's your corner. You know, you can put it like that, or like I said, you could do it like some people do it that way. But that's my DIY tip on Joe's way of framing. That's the right way, I don't know. If there's an easier way to do it, I don't know of it. But hopefully you get the gist of what I'm trying to say here and help you out as you're doing your build, as you're going along, things to think about. Before you get to nailing up your wallboard and realize you don't have anything to nail to. That's what I did up there. I didn't think about that when I had all that open, and it would have been a lot easier to put one up there. Before I closed it all in, I didn't think about that. Now I have to go back. Fortunately, I realized it before I put all the insulation in and started the walls up there. So I could fix it a lot easier now. But, you know, you think about those things when you're laying out your design and how you're going to build it. Think ahead. Think about where you need to put all your studs at. And it'll be a lot easier for you. Anyway, that's my little DIY tips for all you do-it-yourselfers out there. I hope you like this. If you did, subscribe to me, share it. If you got any comments or you got any questions, by all means leave them. I mean, if you got suggestions on how I can do it differently, because I'm going to be doing more, so by all means, tell me. I don't get my feelings hurt from comments. But I hope this helped you guys out. Appreciate Gail running the camera for me. You do a great job, dear. It's your side commentary I got problems with. You talk too much. But this is Joe and Gail out here in the cold at St. Bernard Acres. We're out.